I've got this asset right here that is for an Unreal Engine tunnel exercise. The tunnel is the main section that you see here, and then this up here is the facade. So when you're adding tunnels into Unreal Engine, a way to go about doing this is you end up running the asset through the mountain, let's say, but it leaves kind of a hole because you have to subtract the landscape away, and it's kind of like a rough opening in your house. Like if you've ever done electrical, you know, you kind of cut a big hole and then you put a facade over the top, a cover plate. That's what this is. Now, the problem here is that it's one-sided, and that is fine for the asset, kind of. But when you place it in Unreal Engine, the side that has the normals facing, well, they're facing outward here. When you look at it from this direction, it becomes invisible, and it's kind of hard to see what you're working with. So I'm going to fix this up a little bit, and I want to take you along with me while I do that. So first off, I'm going to pick this, and I'm going to get rid of the mirror. I don't want it yet, because I'm going to fix the product, and then I'm going to mirror it, probably. So then I'm going to go into local mode by hitting / on my keyboard, anywhere, either side. I'm going to hold down Alt, get that whole edge loop, and then here's the first part, snapping to something. So I want to snap it to, well, kind of this plane right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick snap to vertex, okay? And initially this might not seem quite right. So I've got kind of a different color scheme going on here. So this is off, that's on. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to tell. All right, so I might hit 3 here to look at it from the side, or Control 3 to flip it around the other direction. And I might even go into wireframe to look at it as I do it. That might be fine. Let's go ahead and do that. So again, if I hit 3, you see it goes this way. If I hit Control 3, it goes the opposite direction. Now I'm going to hit E to extrude, and snap to vertex is on. So if I just hit E and I bring it over here, you see it snaps to the vertex, and that might be what you think is going to happen, and that's also why you might think that this is wrong. But you hit Y, so it extrudes it along the Y, and then you pick that vertex, so it's holding it to the Y, but snapping it to that particular vertex along the Y-axis. So I'll go ahead and click, and now I have it. I'm going to loop select that. I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt so that I could multiply select, that's what Shift is, and Alt again to get an edge loop. So now I've got these two selected, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to say Bridge Edge Loops, and that's going to close the whole thing in. Tab back out into object mode, take a look at that. That looks like my asset is complete. So now I can look at it from either side, and it's not going to look invisible in Unreal Engine. Now, I'm going to hit /. Here's the thing people forget. They go into local mode, and then they forget that they're in local mode, and then they wonder where all the rest of their stuff went. So hit / again, and it brings you out. Now, that looks like that is my tunnel. We've got some pretty strong Z fighting going on here, so we're going to have to fix that as well. So here's what I'm going to do about this. I'm going to go into vertex select. I'm going to select all of these verts in wireframe mode, because remember this, when you're in wireframe mode, it automatically turns on X-ray mode, which means that I can get all the verts behind it by just selecting in the front. I'm going to delete those, delete all the vertices. So you notice that there's kind of like a double thing going on here. If I go back to here, and you see how I'm selecting the verts, but I'm not getting these right here. This is because I have a solidify modifier on this tunnel. It will be fine. So I'm going to extrude this on the Y up to that point, the same thing we did before, okay? And then I'm going to get out of wireframe, go back into object mode. The solidify modifier updates and everything is fine. Now, I want to fix the other side. So I'll select this, go back into edit mode, Shift Z, Control 3. I'm going to grab all of this right here, delete that, and then again, grab all these verts. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. I am going to change this over, instead of verts, I'm going to change it over to increment. So this is going to be the grid increment. So kind of a new topic. You see all the bold lines that you can maybe barely see right here? We're off by just a tiny little bit. When you set it to move by increments, here's the thing, it's important. You move by grid increment sizes. So the little grids or the big grids. However, it's based upon where you start from. So if one grid is 10 big, or whatever the hell they are, you're going to move 10 even though it starts from back here. So if I'm zoomed out and I can't see those small grid increments, if I hit GY and I go to move it forward, you see, it's moving forward the width of these grid lines, but starting from right here. So I could hit G and then Y, and I could move it back to kind of a major increment right here. And then if I were to zoom out, then I could say E to extrude and then bring it out here and snap to that bigger grid. I could do it that way. Let's undo a little bit here. Or another way I can do this is I can select everything here, and then I can come up here and go to global and I could look on the y-axis, how far from center is this particular one right here? Well, it is 0.6-ish meters away from the center. I could just change this to 0, and it's going to move it right there where I want it. Now, I did stretch this out. If that bothers me, then what I could do is undo this, and I could hit E to extrude on the Y and just bring it out here somewhere. Now I've got that selected, and then I can go over here and just change that to 0, and now I've got that maybe proper spacing. Get out of wireframe, come back into object mode, and there is my tunnel again.